China released its massive force. 6 large Coast Guard ships and 4 naval ships were released by China. This appears to be a calculated show of force by China. China's Navy and maritime militia use water cannons, blinding lasers and harassing tactics to try to push small countries out of the region. China's naval pressure campaign against rival states in the South China Sea has reached unprecedented levels since the annual short-term fishing moratorium was lifted, with Chinese ships shadowing Western warships in the region and attempting to cut off maritime supplies in the region. Sunken island claimed by the Philippines. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, asserting indisputable sovereignty over the Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands and Scarborough Shoal through the so-called 9-line that encircles the sea. Although the claim is disputed by almost all countries in the region, including Taiwan, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines and Vietnam, China has spent more than a decade creating facts on the ground by artificially enhancing atolls and coral reefs, then turning them into atolls and coral reefs become an airport and port. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, Navy's blockade of 2nd Thomas Shoal, a submerged coral reef that is part of the Spratly Island chain in the West Philippine Sea, has become a rallying point for Southeast Asian countries concerned about China's harassment of the country. Small country on the high seas. In early August, the Philippines accused Chinese ships of firing water cannons at Philippine Coast Guard vessels as they attempted to supply supplies to the coral reef. The crisis, which has been ongoing since the Chinese government lifted its annual fishing moratorium in mid-August, has led maritime militia forces backed by the People's Liberation Army, PLA, to actively block Philippine Coast Guard vessels supplying supplies from landing in the waters shallow, where the Philippines periodically needs to resupply. BRP Sierra Madre, a World War II US-built tank landing ship. Manila ran aground in the Sierra Madre on a submerged reef in 1999 to help support their legal claim to the territory. This is not the first maritime dispute between Chinese and Filipino sailors. Even during the administration of former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, who sought to strengthen ties with Beijing and threatened to expel the rotating presence of U.S. troops from the islands, Manila lodged a formal diplomatic protest in 2021, when more than 200 Chinese fishing vessels anchored at Whitsun Reef disputed in the Spratly chain. The Philippines also requested arbitration in The Hague over a territorial dispute with China at sea in 2016. Since the new president of the Philippines, Bongbong Marcos, took more aggressive action against China, tensions have increased again. Over the summer, China reorganized most of its maritime militia forces to operate at Mischief Reef, according to Powell. Mischief, an atoll in the South China Sea developed by Beijing and armed with anti-aircraft missiles, is about 40 miles from 2nd Thomas Shoal. China is also backing the militia with larger forces near Sabina Shoal, another disputed area, and Thitu Island, the second largest of the Spratly Islands. And it's not just shadows and water cannons. China has also fired blinding lasers to daze Philippine ships at least twice this year. China is increasingly using its Coast Guard and maritime militia to harass the Philippine Navy and other regional navies. The more routine China's aggressive behavior becomes. The Chinese kept coming and messing with them, Sadler said. This is becoming like a new normal. Chinese military strategists believe that under continued pressure, the United States will abandon the region rather than continue to challenge its maritime control. Even as the Philippines insists it will continue to resupply sinking coral reefs despite interference from China, experts worry that the Biden administration needs a long-term solution to this recurring crisis, which has baffled the last 3 U.S. administrations.